How are you lads? Guinness Guru Show, episode 6 of a serious guest for you this week. I'm gonna let his impressions do the talking before I even introduce him. So we've got Jurgen Klopp.
I mean, to get it on the final day was just great. This is what Arsene Wenger must have felt like for 10 years.
Ari Redknapp.
Well, I thought it was a fantastic, terrific season. You know, I don't want to single anyone out, but I thought Jamie's performances this year on Sky Sports were absolutely fantastic. I thought he was terrific.
Graham Souness.
The only guy to blame for the European Super League is Paul Pogba.
Ole Gunnar Solskjaer.
Yeah, look, everybody knows Harry Kane's a fantastic player, and we're a fantastic club, so I think it's a good fit.
There's some unbelievable Formula 1 impressions. Max Verstappen.
Yeah, I think the most important thing for me to do now to the end of the season is to just stay calm.
My personal favourite, Daniel Ricciardo.
Yeah, it's been another devastating year. I thought I'd be a lot higher than A.
And this fella is huge in the golf world, working with the Golf Channel over in the States and doing an advert back in 2019 with the one and only Tiger Bloody Woods.
Conditions are really tough out there. They're really tough. Really.
Ladies and gentlemen, my guest this week is the one and only Conor Moore, master impressionist, cute hooer of a businessman, and an all-round good guy. Enjoy the podcast. One quick side note, unfortunately there was issues with my microphone, not even Conor's. My microphone was kind of itching and scratching a little bit throughout the podcast, but we got through it and I think you're really going to enjoy it. Remember to like the video if you're watching on YouTube, lads. Give it 5 stars if you're on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Helps that algorithm. Now enjoy. Looking well.
Well, man, fucking always put me Sunday best on when I come in to do a podcast. When I'm talking Guinness.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, so before when I had like someone on, we did it at the same time, but I think if one of us goes first, then the other goes. But like straight after each other, then we can have a look at them up there.
Yeah.
You come this side more in the shot.
So that the taps aren't in front of me so they can see me.
Exactly, yeah. And there's a bit of a tilt.
You're
up the
taller,
bar, so.
you're taller than I remember. For anyone wondering if I'm really small or he's really tall, you're both right.
There's a goblin coming up from the floor.
Craig, how's things?
This is Neil, Conor.
Neil, how are you? Good to meet you. How are you?
Right, yeah, let's just get straight into it. No need for a bullshit intro. We'll talk shite throughout it. Will we pull off a drop first? You already did? No, I'm messing with Neil. Pick a glass.
Alright, go for the old classic.
Have you poured a pint of Guinness before?
Before I did all this, I was a bartender. So, spent yonks at it. So I've no excuse.
So I don't even you give me the spiel then. How do I pour a pint of Guinness?
Oh, the glass at 45 degrees.
Yeah.
What are the taps like?
Shy.
Taps up. I usually go to about there up to the harp.
So you know what Guinness always say, you have to leave it on the bar, and it's pure marketing bollocks, but you have to leave it on the bar proud so that everyone in the pub walks in and they see the Guinness and then they want to order one themselves, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I don't want to be like questioning the church here. Is the 2-part pour vitally important to it? Like if you just poured it out as one, would it make much difference to the taste?
Taste, I would say I would have asked those questions before, and then I went doing some very technical investigations with your mate Rory Stories. We went down to one of the pubs in Ashburn and we blindfolded each other, and basically what we found, like we did the whole, got the barman to pour a single one and then got him to pour a 2-part pour, and the first thing you noticed is the dome over the top was impossible to get with the 1-part pour. So it just kind of would start sinking into itself. That's why, see, you've got a beautiful creamy bed there, and that Guinness, that kind of second part is just going to come onto that, and then it's just going to make it sort of rise up.
I didn't even think of that yet.
Yeah. And then the taste, I don't know. I think you'd be a bit mad to say that you could taste the difference, but when it was a bit null and void because we were blindfolded, but you could you could feel the lack of a dome on it. So you've gone a bit higher than me.
I know by looking at it already, it's a nice pint. Would you believe, my wife works around the corner, so I drop her in the mornings, and I must have said to her about 4 times, I was like 4 or 5 times, and just in the last year I was like, bet you that place has a nice pint of Guinness.
Yeah.
And it's funny then you said come into here.
Yeah, I came in here for the first time, and Kate was here, she's still working here. Like October 2019, came in, and it had just been one of the places recommended, and she literally, she's pure character, like she's like, Now you lads didn't know what we were doing. I just said the crack. She was like, right, straight into the snug. Yeah, the whole treatment. And then ever since, like, anytime I come in here, I always say, like, for me, this is arguably the most consistent pint in the city centre. Yeah. And can't really argue with that. So whenever, I'm not going to rush you now, Conor. Whenever you think.
I'm looking good, I think.
You're looking very good.
We have a decent pint in the Westbury.
Now we'll see, does he pour it? Oh, don't worry, I'm going to plug the Westbury. You know, push it forward, okay. So as we know, a little bit slower when it goes forward. Dome looking unbelievable. Yeah, up. That is an absolute.
Is that the perfect pour?
Yeah, I'm going to push it forward just because it's a little bit slanted on the bar, but oh, Conor.
Don't go over now. That to me now is alright.
Right, I'll go as well. Honestly, the guests coming on the podcast have been making an absolute show me. You know, a little
I reckon mine could
cap.
just tip over the edge a little, could it?
It could, yeah. I might then go conservative. Yeah,
That's perfect.
Bit of a conservative
That's
effort.
perfect.
Put them babies together. Yeah, I would say aesthetically, like, yours would have the better domage, but it's kind of borderline. It's a millimetre over.
Yeah.
Jeez, mine looks well, to be fair.
Mine, you see, there's a little tear coming on mine there at the side.
We'll get rid of that, no
There's that
bother.
one more.
I'll take a quick picture of these, and then we're just going to sit here, and then Kat will just lead the camera down, be grand.
Aesthetically, there's just no drink like it.
No, seriously.
Just looking at it. But even that there, I love that, the little frosted glass, the condensation.
Unbelievable.
That's everything for me. Has to be a little bit wet.
That's what she said.
They're
Right,
two fine pints of Guinness.
we'll come around and drink them.
Yeah.
These are ready to rock.
Cheers.
Sláinte, my son.
Two nice pints.
Oh, baby. Can't be much bad said about that, I don't think.
No, you're so mad to drink a quick pint though. I'll say that much.
Me?
The videos.
Well, I try to take it a bit slower when we're doing this, or else the podcast will be 10 minutes long. So you're from Mullingar.
Yeah.
So what would your local be? Would you have one in particular that you'd stay loyal to?
Yeah, there's a few around town that you'd be always going into, like to be Canton Casey's is right in the middle of the town. I think it's the oldest pub in the town.
Okay.
Great little back bar. My dad drinks there all the time.
Canton Casey's.
Canton Casey's, yeah. And then there's I don't want to go naming out a load of pubs because I'll miss out on pubs and stuff. But there's Smitty's. There's a lot of great pubs. But actually, when I'm building a house in Mullingar, it's outside the town, so it's about 10 minutes outside the town.
Yeah.
Near enough to Mullingar Golf Club, which also has a great pint of Guinness.
Right.
And I'd say a 3-minute drive from my house, there's a pub called Wallace's. It's in Dalystown. It's just a pub.
So
it's just a little pub in the middle of a field. There's nothing else around it. And for me, I've never ever had a better pint than in there. No, that is a great pint.
So that's why the planning permission was got in that area.
Strategically between that and the golf club.
Bang
I
on.
literally have the perfect little location.
Jeez, you'd have the perfect life there. And you are a Guinness drinker, aren't you?
It's the only thing I drink actually.
Yeah.
Outside, I'll drink wine at home with my wife and stuff, or with dinner. But like, there's nothing else really. Like if Guinness went off the market in the morning, I doubt I would drink much at all.
I'd be the same, to be fair. Obviously, because I'm doing this, it's pretty much is all I drink. But like when I go to, I've never been on a lads trip there in Edinburgh, and obviously when you go abroad, you kind of just tend to default to lagers and stuff. Yeah. I had 1 pint of Heineken in this place, and I thought I got about halfway through it, and I was burping and gassing. And I said, I can't drink this stuff. Like, and it's usually the opposite. Usually lads find lager easy to drink and Guinness heavy. I was like, get that away from me. I drank the shite Guinness like all day long. I was happy.
I do the same.
It's just so much like the because there's no, it's not fizzy. It's not like gassy. You just get them into you so quick.
Yeah, I love it. I love it that much. I named my dog Arthur. Got a dog 2 months ago, named it Arthur. He had a black collar on it, and I was like, okay,
brilliant.
That's him. You know the way when you're going to pick a dog,
you're
looking for some sort of sign.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Your mum was like, oh, the black fella there, or whatever, because they were color coded.
Right.
And I said to my wife, I was like, it's a black collar, Guinness. Just call him Arthur. She was like, deadly.
Arthur or Father's Head.
So he's Arthur.
I was going to say, like, when you do, I like to think this isn't really as much like I'm sure you've been on a million different podcasts, and I wonder with lads like you who has a sort of a niche thing with the impressions, like, are you sometimes just sitting there thinking like, how long until these fuckers ask me to just whip out an impression, or are you just kind of happy to go along with it and see what happens, or is it generally just like do an impression? Like, do you get a bit sick of it, or how does it work?
Not really. To be fair, like it's your job as well. Do you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it's like it's obviously not a normal job.
Yeah.
So when people say it to me, the mad thing is in Ireland, I don't get it that much.
Yeah.
Most people in Ireland, I always say, I love the fella that just walks up and he goes,
Yeah.
"Love your stuff,"
Yeah.
and then just walks off. You're just like,
we were
you're like-
literally talking about that when we met a few weeks ago, and I was saying like that as well. It's great when someone just comes up and just goes,
yeah.
pints. And you're just like, oh man, and they head off.
You do get some people that come up to you, and but it's like I'm at a nice kind of level of notoriety where for me to get annoyed about it, I'd want to be a bit of a bollocks, because it doesn't happen that much.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's not like I walk into a place and everyone goes, "Oh, there's your man," or whatever.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Some days you could, like the night of the All Ireland final or something, you could be walking around Dublin and you'd feel like a proper celebrity,
Yeah.
because everyone's out there, all GA people, so they'll all know your stuff and stuff like that. But it's not to a point where it would ever really get annoying. Now, there's sometimes you can be in a dead serious conversation with someone, and someone come over and ask you to do an impression, and you're like, fucking hell, you know. And then you just do it. That's happened to me like once or twice. I remember I was at a golf tournament, and like I was getting in trouble at work. I was getting told off by somebody. No, I wasn't even getting told off, but I was after messing up something. I said something stupid on television, like it was a real fouler, like. And this
You were getting in trouble from.
Not so much that I was getting in trouble. I had said something stupid on the television. I'd made a gag about Harrington or something.
Yeah.
I was doing not about Harrington, but I was doing Padraig Harrington. I can tell a gag anyway, but I was on German television at the time, and when I was like, yeah, I'm here at the Players Championship, and I can't wait. I'm looking at a couple of players. We're playing America. Next year in the Ryder Cup. This is about 2 years ago before all COVID and stuff kicked in. And I was like looking at a couple of Germans here. Martin Keimer's playing. We're going to war with these Americans, and the Germans, they love a good war, something like that. And then the guy, it was live, and he just goes like this. He's like, oops, and he started talking German to the television, like just apologising or something. So then they were like,
Very sensitive about the war.
Yeah, like, I sometimes when you're ad-libbing, like, you just come out and say anything, and then you're desperate to nail a crack or a joke or something, so anything comes out. So then they were like, geez, you shouldn't have said that. Now, it wasn't even a big deal. Nothing really came of it all. But I remember, like, literally, one of the lads was, like, talking, and he was like, we'll try to clean that up or whatever. We'll apologise to someone, whoever it was in Germany or whatever. I was like, oh, yeah. And then this lady comes up to me, and she's like, oh, my God, I love your impersonations. Can you please do some Sergio? And, like, I was in such a down mood. And then I was like, she was so polite and so nice about it. I was like, yeah, sure, I'm just here, I'm getting in a lot of trouble here.
Well, like, I definitely find and this isn't anything against any other people who do impressions, but I find like I don't know if was it on purpose or just being very smart with the sort of business decisions, but I definitely find like you've got in with the likes of the golf people and stuff like that. Like, when you started doing it, were you kind of like to yourself, right, if I just do impressions, this could like get older, so I need to have these different tactics, or did this stuff just come to you? Like,
it's funny that you say that, actually, because I don't even think I've taught of this in 6 years. But I do remember when I started the page Conor Sketches, and I remember making I put a concerted effort into calling it Sketches. That it wasn't like Conor's impressions.
Yeah,
like,
okay.
It was sketches, so it was more about the sketches than the impressions. And then the impressions, you try to get them to a certain level so that they're all good. And then, because it's all about the content. Because, like, if you do impressions, like, you hear me doing a couple of impressions 2 or 3 times, after the third or fourth time, like, it's just not funny anymore, because it's like, I know you can do that.
A lot of, like, there's so many impressions out there, and some of them are just unbelievable at it, but it's like, it's just like that the same video. I think you've been very creative with it, whereas a lot of people, it's just like, all right, here's a few impressions, and it's like Al Pacino, Donald Trump, blah blah blah, and then you just do them. Whereas you've said to me, like, you got the green screen in, you buy the wigs and the caps, and you like tell a story with it, as opposed to just sitting down and having someone across me going, do this, do that.
Well, yeah, like, and to be fair now, there is like really, really good impressionists in Ireland. Like, I definitely wouldn't say that I'm the best at doing voices, like, by any stretch. There's people way better at doing the voices than I am. But yeah, I kind of focused more on the content side of it, even when I started. But I also kind of made an effort as well when I started. obviously you're influenced by, my biggest influences probably were Après Match, and then
Unbelievable.
Mario would come after that then, and you would have been watching Oliver Callan as well. He would have been doing well kind of when I was just coming up. But I also was, when I started doing it, I was like, right, I'm going to do people that aren't been done. Otherwise then I'm just like a tribute act to other impressionists. You know, if I go doing Dunphy, like everyone that does Dunphy just does, hello baby, it's great, you know what I mean? And it's Après Match's Dunphy, do you know what I mean? But that's the brilliant Dunphy, like, or you know, if you're going to do Daniel O'Donnell or whatever, Mario would nail that. Or even like my Roy Keane is more like, you know, listen, at the end of the day, you know, he's a good player, you know, and Mario invented a whole character called Radio Roy. Yeah. And then sometimes like, now I wouldn't have seen it too much, but you might have the odd fella that might be doing impressions like, and he'd be going, ha 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 ha, at the end of the day, like, but that's not your impression, like, and that's not Roy Keane, that's Radio Roy, that's Mario Rosenstock's like character, do you know? And it's like if someone started doing, for instance, like Gerlach Nan tomorrow, the amount of people that will nail them because they'll be like, oh, you're just doing Conor's thing. Do you know what I mean? So when I started out, I was like, I'm going to do people, even with the soccer, Klopp came on the scene, Pep came on the scene, nobody was doing them. So I was like, I'm just going to do them boys. And that, like, the first video I did with Klopp in it, I think Carragher retweeted it. Yeah. And the thing blew up in England, like, because no one had kind of seen it. And I still try to do that to this day, even with like Formula One or with golf. You're just trying to do, the only thing about Formula 1 and golf is no one's ever done it before. So there's no one to compare me to.
Yeah, and it's funny because you just think to yourself, like, golf, Formula 1, they're all pretty reserved characters. There wouldn't be much of it. There wouldn't be much in an impression of them. And then you go and do like, you know, it could be the launch of like the Ryder Cup, and you're like, boom, day of, perfect time, and you put out a video of like 5-6 lads or F1 first day of the season. That's why I think you've done well, because everyone's talking about F1 and boom, Conor Sketches uploads a video and it's just like wildfire because it's so relevant.
Yeah, what happened there was with the Formula 1, I didn't watch Formula 1 in 20 years. Yeah. Do you know, just no interest watching it or anything. And then I was in the War Memorials Gardens there. It was during COVID, everyone was out drinking or whatever, cans outside, and my wife's mates were all talking about the Grand Prix that was going on this Sunday, and I was a bit like, why is everyone talking about the Grand Prix? No one talks about the Grand Prix, like, you know what I mean?
When was this?
It was like March 2 years ago,
so
February,
just probably as the Drive to Survive was getting popular.
It would have been at the start of 2001 or 2021.
Okay.
So Drive to Survive had about 3 seasons in, but the third season it really everyone started watching it. So I was asking, they were telling me, like, you're not watching this Netflix series, and I was like, no. So then me and my wife went home, we started watching it, and after about 2 or 3 episodes, I was like, there's some characters in this, like,
and especially because it was on Netflix. Like,
and it blew it up.
Yeah, because I was like, I used to watch F1. I used to think it was the most boring thing ever. My brother always kind of kept an eye on it, and then he sent me Drive to Survive. He said, you have to watch this, and I watched it. And then the difference in like watching a race when you actually know who the characters are, and you've seen their face and you've seen the emotions they've gone through, and then you're just like capturing all of that, and like they all have like 1 or 2 niche things about them or whatever. Lewis Hamilton is like this kind of cool guy, and then Verstappen is really like serious, and then you just have to capture 1 or 2 things, and then people are like, oh my god, that is brilliant. Yeah,
it's like Daniel Ricciardo. It's like, you know, that's it, you know. Always smiling whenever. I think he's taking a break next year, which is unfortunate for me, but I find, like, you know the way young people, like kids, get in a trance now when they watch television. You know, parents just throw on some cartoons, just sit there like this. Yeah. Like, obviously I watch loads of sports, but Formula 1, like, I didn't watch it I remember being a kid, being interested in it, because you knew kind of some of the guys when you were growing up, because it would be on the Sundays, but I didn't know anyone there for a couple of years, and then just like that, then you start knowing the characters. And now I'd sit there with my phone. I prefer to watch it on my phone in my face than watching on the television. I don't know why, but I just do that, and I'm locked in for an hour and a half. I'll watch the whole race, no problem at all. They keep going round and round and round, and I'm like in a trance, and I love it. But that's it. I think for me is like because again, the impressions are only, like, to me, they're a secondary thing. The primary thing is the content, and if you're not interested in the sport, well, you won't be able to do the content. So, like, I can't fake, I'm going to do Formula 1 because I can do the voices, I don't really care about it. Now I do, though. Now, like, every Sunday, I'm reading about it all week, I'm listening to podcasts, I'm watching it on a Sunday. The golf, I'm watching it on a Sunday, like, or whatever, Thursday.
It'd be pretty obvious if you just, like, read the headlines and then just try to do impressions.
But the cool thing is, it's like comparing yourself to being a sports journalist in a way. It's a cool job, just like I'm watching matches, but I'm working.
Yeah.
Like, it's like on a Sunday, My wife gets sick of me saying it, like, and I'm like, no, I can't go. I was like, I'm working. She's like, you're just watching matches. I'm like,
No,
I'm
studying here.
and then if I put out a video that goes well, I'm like,
Yeah,
I told you I was working.
And then you just have the feet up for the whole weekend next week. I told you.
It is, honest to God. Like, but like at the weekends, I just plan out the week. Like even this weekend, the Formula 1 is on at 2:00. Arsenal are playing Everton. I think Man United are on Sunday as well, or the Monday. There's a
And
few
are you
games.
just kind of looking out for, say, like, I don't know, hoping that maybe Gary Neville will say something in particular?
Yeah, like
'Cause
even this
that
weekend.
would-
I'm looking to do content this weekend, and I'm trying to force it at the minute, like writing stuff this week.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, just relax, wait till the weekend. Something will happen at the weekend.
Fair
Now,
enough.
if it doesn't,
Yeah.
it doesn't. But and you don't want to go overdo it either. Like I never like to think I'm forcing the content, and that's why I like being in different games, because if like golf's going to be quiet for the next 3 months. Like,
Yeah.
if I'm hammering out golf content that like no one really cares about, because the internet's very like that. It's very what's the word, like relative, trending, those words.
Oh, yeah.
Like I could do a brilliant piece of content that I think is really funny,
Yeah.
and it's just random.
But
It's a
it-
really
yeah,
funny thing, and it'll do
100%.
certain numbers, and I'll be like, all right, tomorrow I will do something not nearly as funny, but reacting off the back of Roy Keane saying something this morning,
Especially
thing blows
like
up.
TikTok, Twitter,
Yeah.
platforms like that are unbelievable for it. But see something like when I saw I think I was watching it live, and Gary Neville, you obviously did the sketch where it was only a few weeks ago. It's Souness, Neville, Carragher, and Keane,
Yeah.
and they were sitting, and obviously Neville's was sitting there going, "This is Manchester United."
This is Manchester United. It's an absolute shambles. I mean, it's shocking. I mean, absolute disgrace. I mean, you play for Man United. You know, nothing to do with tactics. Just work hard. This is Manchester United.
It's Manchester United. It's very funny. And then the next game they're playing, Neville, it cuts to Neville, and he just goes, "Gary, thoughts on this game?" He just goes, "This is Manchester United." Literally, exactly. Were you watching it live? Like, do moments like that, do you go, "Holy fuck," or are you just kind of used to it now, or like?
Well, it was weird, like, because I'd be like, oh, I've done, like I'd done an ad with Tiger Woods there 3 years ago,
Yeah.
and stuff, and then people would be writing to me after they'd see me on Sky Sports and go, "It's about time you get a bit of recognition," or something like that, and I'm like, oh, like, I've done all right, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
But it depends on the game, like, or whatever. But yeah, no, I do, like, in a weird way, like, I met Tommy Tiernan a couple of weeks ago, and I was more nervous meeting Tommy Tiernan than I was meeting Tiger Woods. Just
Fair,
growing
yeah.
up in Ireland, watching Tommy Tiernan stuff, I was actually like a little bit like, geez, I hope he likes it, you know.
Yeah, and maybe there's a sense of like, I might never see Tiger again, but Tommy could be my sort of peer going forward.
yeah,
so
like you
it's-
never know. So so even with the soccer, I probably when I seen that when I was on Monday Night Football, I was like, you know, because I grew up watching like
Yeah.
soccer and Monday Night Football, so I was definitely blown away by it
Yeah.
that a bit, and the amount of messages I got and stuff. It was actually bigger than that, and even the Formula 1 lads watching the videos or Tiger, it's amazing. Soccer though is the biggest game in the world.
Yeah.
Like at the end of the day, like it is. Like
Yeah.
Ronaldo and Messi are the two biggest sports stars in the world. Even you going to America, you say that, people say no. You're
Yeah.
like, no, they're big everywhere.
Yeah.
You know, basketball players aren't big everywhere. You know, so
Yeah.
soccer is it's like that. And getting the best part of the whole thing for me was when Neville did it. Keane was kind of smiling at him. I thought,
Yeah.
waiting for him to do it, and I was like, Keane seen it.
Yeah. Everyone with Keane's approval.
Yeah.
You have, you are whatever co-owner or whatever you want to call it of the Westbury.
Yeah,
In New York.
yeah.
Talk to me about, I suppose, your actual involvement setting up a pub, and then we'll move on to the Guinness side of things, which is the most important for me.
But would you believe it starts the other way?
Okay.
It starts with Guinness.
Right.
So it was
What, so you just said I want to set up a pub and sell Guinness?
No. What happened was, how I got in with the lads was, it was 2019, and I was after being with the Golf Channel for a year, and then I just said, I'm going to move to New York. I'm going to move to America. I didn't have to. Now I told a lot of people, I was like, they're telling me I got to go to New York, so I mean, and everyone was like, oh, really? But I really just, because I did a couple of J1s in New York, and you're always working in New York to live for Saturday night, or I was working in like at different stages, like, you know, different jobs and everything, and you're always working to just live for that one day at the weekend or whatever, you know, and you're on not great money when you're over there.
Yeah.
And I just thought to myself, I'd love to go back to New York and just live where I don't have to, like at the end of the day, I'm making videos. Like, and I only had I think I had 12 videos in the contract for the whole year, and then live appearances. So it's like, that's one video a month. And I'm on a contract
In
for
New
the
York?
whole year. Like with the golf channel.
Okay.
Now, and then I obviously do other work for
Yeah.
other sports. But I'm like, I'm just going to live in New York. So I got myself I went over. My brother lives there anyway, and the first day I get over there, I was like, "What's the story? Like, where would you get a good pint of Guinness here? Like, not the crap. Like, you know, some bars don't look after it and stuff." I was like, "Oh, like it's." My brother Darren says, "There's a place called the Long Hall."
Yeah.
And he says they have a good pint of Guinness. So I walked outside the Long Hall, took a picture. It says best Guinness in NYC. They always hashtag this thing on social media.
Yeah.
And walked in, got a pint, and I was like, that's a great pint of Guinness. Like, which was kind of surprising to be so far away from home.
Yeah.
And met then Cahill.
Can I quickly ask, what glass was it in?
They have that glass, but it's unbranded. But they have the old style glass.
Okay.
There's no branding
Okay,
on the
fair
glass,
enough.
but they have it on. It's not the new glasses.
Yeah, but it's still the old
Yeah,
school
it's these glasses without that on it. Yeah.
Right.
So I put it on Instagram. I was like, no, it is actually a great pint of Guinness or whatever. So then Johnny Kennedy, people would know him as Johnny Longhall. So I was in behind the bar, took a picture behind the bar, stuff like that. And then I got an apartment around the corner. So my apartment around the corner was like, had a nice big bedroom in it. It was a tiny little living room.
Right.
It was literally next to the Empire State Building. The boys are just underneath it, kind of around the corner.
Jesus.
So it was in Midtown Manhattan.
Yeah.
So I had this apartment, but I had this like really crappy little living kitchen space.
Yeah.
And it was like just, you don't want to spend your evenings there. So I was always in the Long Hall.
Yeah.
So I got to know the boys really well, and then Johnny, like we went on trips away and everything, and I was always in there. And then when I was in there at the time, and I don't really do this now, ever since COVID, like I'm not much putting up Instagram stories and stuff like that and showing people where you are all the time. I kind of felt like I should be doing that. I'm on Instagram, that's what you're supposed to do, but like it's not really my thing. So at the time though I was doing it, but sure, people were just like, you're just always drinking in the Long Hall. But sure, I could be in there drinking tea, or you'd be having a few pints of Guinness or whatever. But got to know the boys really well, and then I came home. I was going back out to move to Florida. Johnny was like, we're looking at this bar around the corner, like it's not too far from the Long Hall. It's a really good location. It's just off 5th Avenue, 38th Street, like prime location, blah blah blah, near the two Grand Central and Penn Station, in between the two of them. Like, so because New York is all about after work during the week.
Yeah.
It's not so much like your Saturday night, like it's a bonus if your Saturday night's good. Okay. And at the minute now, I have to say our Saturday nights are good, but it's all about like your Wednesday, Thursday, Friday kind of after work people coming in. So it was a good location and everything. And then the boys, like, I just liked the way the boys like run the pub.
You've already seen that this is similar to what it's going to look like.
Exactly, yeah. It was nearly more. I was more getting involved with them than the bar itself.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
You just kind of were happy enough to attach yourself
Because like
to their name.
and the Long Hall, they'd built up like such a great name over in New York, like and with the Guinness and everything, and they just had you go onto their social media and stuff, and there was always people in there and things like that. So then Johnny said, do you want to get involved? And I was like, yeah. I was like, go on, we'll get involved. And I got involved, literally got involved in February of 2020.
Oh yeah.
So I was watching the news, and this crazy stuff was happening in China, in a place far away.
And you're signing the contract.
And I'm just like, yeah, I'm in, boom, whatever. And the two Johnnies were actually doing a tour. They were doing a TV show in America. And they said, we're up in New York on Paddy's Day. And we're like, we'll call into the bar. I was like, we're opening up that day. I was like, perfect.
Oh my God.
So RT were coming in and everything. The day before Paddy's Day, they did a dry run. They opened the place up, like not officially, but just to bring people in, get the taps on and stuff, I think on the 16th. And that night then it was like, we can't open tomorrow. There's no parade, there's no nothing. It's over. You know, as in Paddy's week was over. And it was kind of like, all right, 4 or 5 weeks or whatever.
Yeah.
And we didn't open up then for another year or whatever. But
unbelievable.
It's still, it was, at the time I remember kind of just thinking about, just forget about it. I was like, if it's dead, it's dead.
But what's the process of, like, with Guinness, of, I suppose the lads already had the good Guinness in the Long Hall, so they were just going to replicate that.
Exactly, yeah.
Would there be any, I don't know how deeply invested you are in that side of it, but is there any sort of like advice or tips or for anyone trying to get a good Guinness abroad, because we all know it doesn't seem to travel well?
Well, just with the lads, they look after it. You need a good run.
Yeah.
The big thing is a good run, and how many days you keep the keg there. You chill it for whatever, a couple of days, and then tap it. And then it's like, I remember going to Iceland a couple of weeks ago, and anytime we're on holidays,
my wife gets really pissed off because if I see a Guinness sign, I always say, come on, we'll just go in and try it. Because I'm mad to get a place like in the middle of nowhere in some country, whether it's like we were in Italy, we were in Paris, I was out, like we were in Iceland, and I'm just like, come on, we'll go in there. And sometimes you can be surprised and it's nice, and then sometimes if they don't look after it and you leave, if you leave anything in a keg for a long time, like I was in Iceland one day, Jesus, the thing came out, I was like, I smelt it and I just walked off.
Take the fucking Guinness sign down.
I was like, you know. And then there was another bar in Iceland actually that had a great pint of Guinness in it, like, but again, you could see there was plenty of Irish people in there drinking it, like. So the big thing is like, it's nearly more the marketing of it and getting a run on it so that you're not leaving a keg sitting there. But if it's going to sit there, it's not going to be great. But the lads, the boys over in New York, they're very like careful and precious about the line and stuff like that. And it gets a good run. So like once you have those two things,
I think it's just
you're not going to have a bad pint anymore.
No, it's what I learned is it's really just like a cultural thing, like more than the actual. Like you couldn't just rock up to a pub, like you said, getting a good run in it. You couldn't just rock up to a pub and like, you know, Gordon Ramsay Kitchen Nightmares overnight. There you go, you've good Guinness. Like you have to. Everyone in that pub has to, like, inside have some sort of caring for serving good Guinness, and like you just find when you go to in Ireland. Generally people do because it's an Irish drink. Everyone knows that it's probably the number one seller in the pub, so there's a cultural thing. People love Guinness. Whereas you go abroad, if someone's not Irish, they probably just why would they care that much about Guinness? They just see it as another drink. But even if it is an Irish pub, you kind of do have to just have that love for it and care for it and cleaning the lines and moving the kegs and all that sort of stuff. So I think it just comes down to just in your head being like, geez, we have to serve a good pint of Guinness.
And I think like if you do put in that effort, and there's loads of pubs that just don't, because and there's some lads that are in this business 20 to 30 years and don't give a shite, and they're just like, just throw the kegs in whenever they come out, bang, and they don't really care about it. Like, and that, like, to be fair, you can't argue with that in a sense either, but I'm mad to like open somewhere in Mullingar or Dublin or something. I would definitely want to do something at home, and if I'm doing it, like whoever you get to run the bar, I'd be just like, number one priority is to just try and get the best pint of Guinness, so the place is just known for it. Because I think Guinness is becoming like incredibly trendy. A lot more younger people, a lot more younger people are drinking it. Years ago they weren't.
I have to go in with you on that bar.
But I think if you have a pub that has a great pint of Guinness, you'll have people coming in every day. You'll have people coming in every day for that pint.
You could have a pub that had, like I've said this before, you could have, and people when they come from outside of Ireland, they don't understand this. Say all the different beers, and some pubs have 10 different things on tap. If the Guinness is amazing, I guarantee a lot of pubs in Ireland would prefer to have an unbelievable Guinness and average everything else. Then their Heineken be great, their Beer Moretti be great, their Smithwick's be great, but an average Guinness, because there's just this, it's so trendy at the minute, and it always was, but now I think because of social media, it's actually young people. Imagine 10 years ago, an 18-year-old coming in and being like, you know what, how's the keg, how's the lines? You'd be going, what is this lad on about? But now they just know all the stuff.
I remember being in college in DCU, and one of our marketing assignments was about how do you get younger people like to drink Guinness. That like at the time, this is nearly 15 years ago, Guinness, younger people, not enough younger people were drinking it. And nowadays everyone's drinking it. It's even like, sure, when you're putting up those videos, and I've been obviously following you for a while, like, but when I went to Dublin now, I'm going down to Mulligan's I call it Mulligan's Quick Pint. Bose, if I'm doing something in the city on the way home, I'll stop into those pubs that have a great pint. I'll call around to the Palace. Do you know, like the Boars, there's a few of them that you call into then, you know, I'll definitely be calling in here a few times. The Grave Diggers, I haven't been out there in about 2 or 3 years. I called out there one day, I was at Last Nevin Cemetery. I meant to call around to it. But
it's brilliant. Like, Grave Diggers is brilliant, but I think I've gotten to a point now where like I also like to send people to other pubs as well. Do you know what I mean? Because it kind of has gotten to a stage where people see the Grave Diggers is here and everywhere else is here. But for me, Grave Diggers, unbelievable. If they're saying there's the best, we call it the best. But realistically, Grave Diggers here, Mulligan's, Bose, like on their best day, they're all as good as each other for me. Do you know what I mean? But Grave Diggers is just there's something unique about it. The fact that it's in the middle of a little quiet housing estate. You walk in, the furniture is about 200 years old, a 7th-generation run. So it's nearly more about the story than the actual pint.
And I'm all about that kind of, like, if I was going to open up a bar, I'd nearly go in and try and break the place up to make it look like 200 years
100%.
old.
And the thing is, you see these pubs in other countries, and like it's just so obvious that they, like, I heard there was this company who you pay like 20-30 grand or something, and they'll go anywhere in the world and they'll just set up your Irish pub. But when you go, it's set up as an Irish pub for, like, you know, like what the Americans would think an Irish pub is. But you go into it, you're like, fucking hell, it looks so new, even though they've tried to make it look old. So I do think that's a massive challenge for people trying to
that's a big thing in
pub.
New York, where they bring somebody in and they make it an Irish pub. But in New York, all the pubs are kind of like here in Dublin, the pubs, they're wide, they're like normal, you know, premises. In New York, every place is a big long, like the Westbury, Long Hall, they're all big long bars.
Or
and
big, wide open, like.
And what Johnny and Cahill did in the Westbury to give it more of an Irish bar feel was, like, the partitions are a big thing.
Big thing. Like, you should have to, as weird as it sounds, if you're going into a pub and you're trying to find your mate, like, you should have a nightmare trying to find them, because you're fucking, is he in this side, is he in this? No, look at this place, there's doors and chairs everywhere. So
even that kind of Kyo's look or whatever, when you get those, you put the partitions up. We did it in the Westbury with a couple of them, or Johnny and Cahill did it, like, in fairness, now they would have done all the designing of it. But it's to give it that proper kind of Irish feel.
Cozy, not these big massive open bars with the 20-foot ceilings. It's not an Irish bar, like. And one thing, the last thing I'll say, I think, and such an obvious sign of an Irish bar is, like, GA jerseys, because if it's just a randomer has said, I'm going to start an Irish pub, they don't even probably know what GA is. But when you've got the feckin' random, like, Division 3 Armagh hurling jersey signed by the team hanging from the ceiling, then you know, like, right, this is actually Irish.
And the pictures.
The pictures,
No, I do. I definitely. I'd love to actually do something in Mullingar, because then you'd have a bit more of an influence. Obviously, I'm living here at the minute now. At the time when I got involved in the Westbury, I was living in America. So I was in Florida for the whole year. So and then after I came home, I wouldn't say stuck at home for a year. I love that Dave McSavage line where he was on a film set with George Clooney. And George Clooney asked him, he was like, so are you based in Dublin? And he's like, no, George Clooney, I'm stuck in Dublin.
As if I've got 20 properties all over the world.
He's hilarious.
Brilliant.
But so I was stuck then in Ireland for the year. But it worked out great, so I ended up doing the golf show from Dublin for the year. And then obviously the following year, which is this year, I haven't been stuck here. I was able to go back, but then with the Golf Channel, they were like, do you want to just do that we'll block shoot stuff. So I was going over to America for a couple of weeks and come here. So I'm based here now more. I obviously have to travel over and back and stuff. But I way prefer being based here. Like, I love living at home.
Well, I'm definitely stuck here, but might be based here soon. Conor Moore, anything you would like to plug? Where should I find you? Just type in Conor Sketches, go laugh your arse off.
A bit of Instagram or whatever, and if you're in New York, make sure you call into the Westbury.
And
cheers.
There's a strong chance I could be in New York by the end of the year, but we'll keep that hush hush for the minute.
So we're under pressure now, we better make sure the Guinness
is good. Exactly, the big bad wolf is coming. Conor Moore, pleasure.
Cheers. Thanks.
Cool.